So I'm very excited. Upper Deck has sent me a copy of their latest Marvel Legendary expansion, Doctor Strange in the Shadows of Nightmare. I personally love Doctor Strange and all the Mystic Arts comics in Marvel, so I'm very excited for this. We know a bunch of the cards thanks to the blogs from Upper Deck, but I can't wait to open this up, find out what's inside. I'm going to be doing a complete card overview for you as well, going over everything in the box, but let's get started and open this thing up. All right. By the way, usually on the back, there's some extra pictures of cards, so I'm purposefully not going to flip this over like I've avoided doing with the previous expansions because of... There we go. I want to see what's inside first. Okay, here we go. There is the wonderful box art that we've seen. This is a small box. There are 100 cards in here. Oh, this one's... oh, here we go. Other side. Some extra tape on there. All right. There's the manual. All right, sweet. We're going to go ahead and read through this in a little bit. But we've got our 2 card packs. Let's go ahead and find out what's in these. Starting with... okay. Oh, cool. There's an Ancient One card we have not seen yet, and the other pack has... ooh, a new scheme. All right, we'll check all these in detail in a second. Let's go ahead and open these up, and then we'll read through this thing. Okay. So we don't know what the final hero set is, and we also don't know who the second mastermind is. So that's going to be interesting to find out. All right, I finally got it. Let's get this open. Let's find out who is in here. Take a look at the cards we haven't seen yet. All right, there we go. There's the Ancient One. More of the Ancient One. We saw that one. Ooh, there's Dr. Voodoo's cards. Those look cool. I love the art on these. We saw that one in the preview, but none of the other ones. Okay, I think there's Clea. Yeah. Okay, the rest of her cards. 2 of those we haven't seen yet. And then there's Ooh, the Eye of Agamotto. This is rare. I can't wait to dive into what that one's all about. And Book of Cagliostro. Nice, nice, nice. All right, that looks like our heroes. Perfect. Let's go ahead and check out the probably all the villains, masterminds, and schemes here in Stack 2. Very exciting. Based on all the bargaining, I have an idea who the mastermind is going to be. If he's really here, we can really come to bargain. There's our 4 schemes. Then we've got Nightmare's tactics, as well as Nightmare, who we did see. There he is, Dormammu, our second mastermind. I think we all knew that was coming, but it's really cool to see. And I like how they used his comic design instead of something more like the movie design, which is, you know, Legendary uses the comic designs, and I love that. All right, and Fear Lords looks like to be the Always Leads group here. And nice. Ooh, Dreamstalker, Umar, Satanish. A lot of these characters I got to reacquaint myself with. Baron Mordo, we saw the Mindless Ones, of course. Oh, okay, so the Vishanti, this was rumored, is the final hero group, which looks like to be a group here. We've got Agamotto, sweet, Hogarth, and Ashtor for the final hero of this game. And the Ancient One's rare is the Orb of Agamotto. Really cool stuff. All right, so Dormammu is the second mastermind, and it looks like the Vishanti are indeed the final hero group in this set. Very exciting. Just popping in from the future here because I realized I didn't show you the back of the box. Let's go ahead and take a look. So on the back of the box, it has some text. To sleep, perchance to dream. This is the hunting ground for Nightmare, and all those who shut their eyes risk being trapped for eternity in his torturous embrace. Recruit multiple masters of the mystic arts from this talented cauldron of heroes led by the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. Only their combined strength can stand against the denizens of darkness like Nightmare and Dormammu in this terrifying expansion to Legendary, a Marvel deck-building game. The Doctor Strange expansion includes the following: 100 playable cards, 5 heroes, 2 new masterminds and villain groups, rule sheet. And there we go. We've got Clea, Dr. Voodoo, Dormammu, and Nox here on the back, and then all the other details there. And thanks again to Upper Deck Entertainment, by the way, for sending me this expansion. Please tag them on social at Upper Deck and on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter if you get this expansion. All their socials are in the description as well. I'm going to go ahead and read the instruction manual now. If you'd like to skip this, go right to the card overview. Go ahead and check out the timestamp in the description. Alright, here we go. Doctor Strange has long battled hideous fiends rushing to tear his body apart. Now new demons descend to rend his mind and claim his very soul. Nightmare and his Fear Lords are the embodiment of terror, pulling victims into an astral plane of mental energy where darkest fears turn all too real. The dread Dormammu and his demons come to bargain with Doctor Strange, offering temptations of limitless power for the tiny price of one human soul. To face them, Doctor Strange calls on his most powerful allies, his one-time partner Clea, the half-demon sorceress and heir to the Dark Dimension, the mysterious Dr. Voodoo who is destined himself to become Sorcerer Supreme, his former master, the immortal Ancient One of Kamar-Taj, and even the all-powerful Vishanti, the spirits who empower Doctor Strange's mightiest spells. To survive the storm, they must unleash their most powerful ritual artifacts, from Wands of Ratum to the Eye of Agamotto. Many sorcerers never escape the demons of Nightmare. Will you? And look at the keywords. Demonic bargain. Demons offer gifts of power with a dark price, hoping to corrupt the souls of mortals. These deals with the devil are especially corrupting to the powerful and arrogant. The humble are more likely to escape with their souls intact. This is represented by the new demonic bargain keyword. Some villains like Satana Hellstrom say things like fight. Choose a player to make a demonic bargain with Satana Hellstrom to rescue 3 bystanders. That player discards a top card of their deck to see if they're corrupted by power. If that discarded card costs 1 or more, that player is too powerful and arrogant to resist temptation and gains a wound to the demon's delight. If that discarded card costs 0, then that player has been humble enough to resist corruption. Whether that player gained a wound or not, they then gain the demonic bargain's listed benefit. Some cards have you choose which player must make a bargain for a benefit. Think carefully about how many cards in your deck cost 0. If most of your deck is still 0 cost cards, it may be worthwhile to seize the power of the demonic bargain for yourself, but if your deck has lots of high cost cards, then it may be wiser to choose another player to make the demonic bargain instead. Just beware, mortals who think they can outwit and outbargain a demon are often left regretting their hubris. When you choose a player to make a demonic bargain, that player cannot decline. Dormammu can force players to make cruel, all-downside demonic bargains with the chance of a wound plus an additional negative effect. Great. If you use card abilities to look at or manipulate the top card of your deck, you may gain valuable insight as to whether a demonic bargain will punish you. Astral Plane. The Fear Lords are cruel demons that move themselves and others beyond the physical world to a realm of pure psychic energy. There, they prey on the human psyche, evoking nightmare and terror. This is represented with new Astral Plane abilities. Some villains say things like fight. If this villain was in the city, it enters the Astral Plane. The Astral Plane is a single, unique space that only exists in games with cards that use the Astral Plane. It sits immediately to the right of the villain deck. When a villain is in the Astral Plane, it has no physical form. It can only be fought with Recruit, not Attack. To fight a 5-attack villain, you must spend 5 Recruit. When you fight a villain in the Astral Plane, put it in your victory pile and do its fight effect as normal. When a villain enters the Astral Plane, any villain already there escapes. This causes all the same effects as if that villain had escaped the city, including KOing from the HQ, discarding from captured bystanders, and escape abilities. Villains still get minus attack and plus attack bonuses, while in the Astral Plane, you just use Recruit to fight the total attack. The Mastermind Nightmare can also enter the Astral Plane. While there, he can only be fought with Recruit, not Attack. If he escapes the Astral Plane, do all the normal effects for a villain escaping the city, then do the escape ability written on Nightmare, which moves him to the Mastermind space. The Astral Plane is not a city space. It's not adjacent to any city spaces. Cards can't move or swap villains to or from the Astral Plane unless they explicitly mention the Astral Plane. Villains do ambush effects when they enter the city. The Astral Plane is not part of the city, so villains that enter the Astral Plane don't do their ambush effects at that time. For keywords from other sets, to fight a chivalrous duel enemy in the Astral Plane, you must spend Recruit from a single hero name. You must spend Recruit to use excessive violence or human shields from the Astral Plane. You can't use piercing energy on enemies in the Astral Plane. Bribe and other cards that say you can spend any combination of Recruit and Attack to fight that villain this turn do not work against enemies in the Astral Plane. Great, I was looking for that clarification after we learned what it was. Artifacts. Through epic quests, Doctor Strange and his mystic colleagues have uncovered arcane objects of staggering power. These are represented by powerful artifact cards that persist from turn to turn. Artifacts have previously appeared in legendary Guardians of the Galaxy, Fear itself, and Heroes of Asgard. Some hero cards in this set are also artifacts. They still count as hero cards too. When you gain a hero artifact, put it in your discard pile like any other hero card. When you draw that artifact later in the game, you may play it in front of you and use its effects. This means you control that artifact. At the end of your turn, when you discard all the cards you played that turn, the artifacts you control stay in front of you. You can use artifacts on the first turn you play them. You can control multiple artifacts with the same card name and use each of them. You can only use artifacts during your turn unless otherwise specified. If a card effect during any player's turn asks you to reveal a hero, you may reveal a hero artifact you control. Card effects that say your heroes are heroes you have include hero artifacts you control as well. However, you only played an artifact on the turn you put it out, so it only activates superpower abilities like Strength, you get +1 attack, on the turn you play the artifact, not every turn of the game. Likewise, card effects that count each hero you played this turn only count an artifact if you played it this turn. Ritual artifacts. Marvel sorcerers invoke rituals of awesome power anchored by mystic talismans. This is represented with a special type of artifact appearing for the first time in this set, ritual artifacts. These use the artifact rules above with some new twists. They say things like, ritual artifact, if you drew a card, you may discard this artifact to get +3 attack. If you have fulfilled the listed ritual condition this turn, you can discard the ritual artifact to get the listed effect. You don't have to use the ritual artifact even if you fulfill the ritual condition. You might want to save it for a future turn instead of discarding it. You can use as many ritual artifacts as you wish in a turn, including using multiple ritual artifacts with the same name. If you draw one card, that's enough to use the ritual's multiple artifacts that each have the condition, draw a card. If you use a draw card ability and it draws you a ritual artifact with the condition, draw a card, then you can play that artifact and use it right away. It's okay that the artifact wasn't in play when you fulfilled the ritual condition earlier in the turn. If a card lets you play a copy of a ritual card, or play a copy of it, then you can use its ritual effect, or throw an artifact, or once per turn artifact ability once, and you don't need to fulfill the ritual condition. You don't need to immediately discard the copy card to use the ritual. The copy doesn't stay in play as an artifact. Also cool to have that clarification. Join the Marvel Legendary community, please do. Marvel Legendary owes its long lifespan to its incredible players and community. Thank you. Join Marvel Legendary groups on social media sites and board game websites to find keyword reference guides, links to randomizers, news, discussions, resources, and other players. Rating the game well on board game websites like Board Game Geek also helps it grow. Game contents, rules insert in 100 cards, 5 new heroes of 14 cards each. Each hero has 1 rare, 3 uncommons, 5 of 1 common, and 5 of another common. 2 villain groups of 8 cards each, 2 new double-sided epic masterminds, each has 1 mastermind card and 4 mastermind tactic cards, 4 new schemes. And the credits: game design and card set design Devin Lowe, brand manager Travis Ray, associate brand manager Corinne Deng, director of game development Bubby Johansson, product manager Rob Ford, graphic design Krista Timberlake, art acquisition lead Samantha Padilla, art direction Julio Elizondo, box art Vicenzo Cuca and Kemp Studios, card art Cliff Richards, Ezequiel Roel, and Mukor Bazan, project managers Louise Bateman, Tonya Lashley, Richard Rodriguez, director of creative services Mike Eggleston, VP of production and logistics Suzanne Lombardi, president Upper Deck Company Jason Mashara, playtesters Greg Aguilar, JT Bontegrer, Rob Ford, Michael Green, Steve Helling, Eric Persons, Josh Roberts, Aaron Sirwa, and Jason Walker. Let's go ahead and dive into the complete card overview for this set. How exciting. Our first mastermind is Nightmare. He has 6 attack and he's worth 6 VP. When you fight Nightmare in the astral plane, instead of revealing a tactic, KO one of your heroes, and Nightmare moves to the mastermind space. Always leads Fear Lords, Master Strike. Nightmare enters the astral plane. If he was already there, each player discards a random card. Escape. Each player KOs one of their non-gray heroes. Nightmare moves to the mastermind space. So he's not necessarily hard to hit, he's just hard to take down because unless you fight him in the mastermind space, you don't get a tactic, and it looks like he moves to the astral plane quite a bit. Let's see how different his epic side is. So Epic Nightmare only has a couple of differences. First of all, his attack is 8 instead of 6, making him a little harder to hit, and then his Master Strike effect, if he was already in the astral plane, each player discards 2 random cards instead of 1. Interesting that there's so few changes, but just the couple of extra attack and the extra Master Strike effect must be enough if you have to hit him a whole bunch of times anyway. So with his tactics so hard to actually get, I was wondering what they are, and here they are. Don't Fall Asleep is his first one. Fight. Each other player discards 2 cards with recruit icons. Nightmare enters the astral plane, obviously making it harder to fight him while he's in the astral plane because you need recruit to fight something while they're there. Next we have Dreamweaver. Fight. For each of your ranged heroes, rescue a bystander. Nightmare enters the astral plane. I'm pretty sure he's going to enter the astral plane on every single tactic. Night Terrors. Fight. Each other player reveals a covert hero or gains a wound. Nightmare enters the astral plane. With this set being so covert heavy, I think you might be okay most of the time here, but if you mix other sets in, that's a different story. And this one is very interesting to me. Deadly Waking Nightmares. Fight. Each other player KOs one of their non-gray heroes. Each player who KO'd a hero this way draws a card. Nightmare enters the astral plane. This is interesting because there was a new keyword introduced in the New Mutants expansion called Waking Nightmare, where if it was triggered, you would have to discard a non-gray hero from your hand and then draw a new card. And this is a Deadly Waking Nightmare where you'd basically do the same thing, but instead of discarding that hero, you KO it. A lot of us guessed that Waking Nightmares would return, and obviously that didn't happen, but this is a nice homage to that keyword. Okay, let's explore further into the astral plane with Nightmares Always Leads villain group, Fear Lords. Starting with Nox, she is a 4-attack, 2 VP villain. Fight, KO one of your heroes. Then, if Nox was in the city, she enters the astral plane and captures a bystander, so another villain that sticks around after you fight her. By the way, there's 2 of these cards in the villain group, so what's cool is with 2 Nox cards, you actually have 4 KO opportunities, once if you hit her in the city, and then once if you hit her in the astral plane. But again, you gotta be careful with that astral plane because when something else enters, when something's already there, it immediately escapes. Next we have Despair, one of the villains we saw in the card previews. This villain has 5 attack and 3 VP. All the rest of the villains in this group have 3 VP. Ambush, Despair enters the astral plane and captures a bystander. Fight, KO a hero. Then, if Despair was in the astral plane, he enters the city, ignoring his ambush ability. So he too returns like Nox, but in the opposite direction. You fight him in the astral plane, he goes into the city. If you fight her in the city, she goes to the astral plane. Now he's kind of dangerous because he does capture a bystander while he's in the astral plane. And let's say you can't fight him that turn. What's going to happen is if one of these villains or the mastermind goes into the astral plane next turn, that bystander escapes and you have suddenly a discard to deal with. And I feel like that's going to happen quite a bit. Next we have Dreamstalker. I believe this is Nightmare's flying winged horse. By the way, this art is doing a great job of making this place look magical and also menacing. I'm really digging the colors here. Anyway, he has a 5 attack and is worth 3 VP. Fight, draw 2 cards. Then if Dreamstalker was in the city, it enters the astral plane. Escape, each player discards down to 4 cards. Wow, the escape effect is pretty nasty with the astral plane there. Again, like I mentioned, things can probably escape pretty easily there. And again, he has you draw 2 cards. He also goes into the astral plane, comes back like the other 2 do, and that means each one, if you hit it twice, that's 4 cards drawn per Dreamstalker. Something's occurring to me now. A lot of the times you want to recruit first before you fight for things like Wall Crawl if you can draw a card there, or if you have a cool one recruited effect. But with these villains, you probably want to fight them first, they go to the astral plane, and you might want to spend your recruit to fight them a second time so that astral plane is clear. So that'll be interesting. Do you have 5 attack and 5 recruit to take out Dreamstalker twice? And if you do, you'll end up drawing 4 cards, and you may draw enough to be able to do some more recruiting or attacking afterwards. But what if there's something you really want to recruit? Are you going to risk leaving something in the astral plane if you can fight it? More great choices that Legendary provides you. Let's take a look at this last villain. The Lurking Unknown is the final villain of the Fear Lords. It has a 2 attack and worth 3 VP. Fight, reveal the top card of the hero deck. You may spend recruit equal to that card's cost to have the player of your choice gain that hero. If you don't, the Lurking Unknown enters the astral plane, even if it was already there. Escape, reveal the top card of the hero deck. Each player reveals their hand and KOs a hero with that cost. Always love a good card cost mechanic. Interesting to me that the Lurking Unknown basically has you recruit a card by spending recruit to gain it, but specifically says the player of your choice gains it. It's not a recruit for purposes of things that care about recruits and gains. And this will provide some fun multiplayer opportunities because you may have enough recruit to get the thing that's on the top of the hero deck, but you might not want it, so you may push it onto another player just so you avoid this thing going into the astral plane. The escape effect seems particularly nasty too because you could reveal a very unfortunate cost for some KOs you really don't want to do. It's kind of like Demolish, but a lot worse. I'm having flashbacks to epic Fin Fang Foom. So on the surface, with their relatively low attack, the Fear Lords can be easily underestimated, but with the fact that they all come back at some point if the conditions are right, plus they can go to the astral plane and immediately escape, and some have some pretty bad escape effects, you don't want to underestimate these cards. And speaking of not underestimating, let's take a look at our second mastermind. There he is, the Dread Dormammu. I love this art, love the classic comic art like I mentioned. He's got a respectable 11 attack and worth 6 VP, always leads Lords of the Netherworld, Master Strike. Each player makes a demonic bargain with Dormammu to discard down to 4 cards. So not only do you have to discard the top card of your deck, but you discard down to 4, messing up your hand and potentially giving you a wound all at the same time. That's rough. Alright, what does his epic side say? Ooh, this is an upgrade for him. All right, so instead of 11 attack, he's got 13 attack, and his Master Strike is going to set up the Demonic Bargain to make it better for him. Check it out. Each player reveals the top card of their deck and discards it if it costs 0. Then each player makes a Demonic Bargain with Dormammu to discard down to 3 cards. So basically, it's giving him advantage on the Demonic Bargain check where, oh, that's going to not be good for me, I'll discard that, and it gives him a better chance of you pulling a card that doesn't cost 0. And you also have to discard down to 3 instead of 4. Wow, he is not going to be easy to take on. Now, I remember in the rule sheet it did mention that his Demonic Bargains may not help you at all, like that last one. And here's another one, Demonic Hellfire. Fight. Each other player makes a Demonic Bargain with Dormammu to KO a non-gray hero from their discard pile. Ruthless. It's going to feel real bad if the card you discarded for the Demonic Bargain is the card that you have to KO. And imagine if you had set it up for some reason where the top card of your deck is a card that you knew you wanted and you wanted to draw, and then you immediately have to discard it and then KO it. Wow. Flames of Regency is his second tactic. Fight. Each other player makes a Demonic Bargain with Dormammu to discard a card with an attack icon. So I noticed both of these tactics say each other player, so if you actually fight Dormammu, you're going to be safe, but the other players are going to suffer. Very villainous of him to pull that kind of trick. Barter for Souls. Fight. Choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain with Dormammu to gain a hero from the HQ that costs 6 or less. Okay, well, interesting. You can turn this into a bad thing by giving somebody a hero that is not going to help them, or you could help them out by maybe giving them something they want. So this is Dormammu giving you the power to be evil or not. Very cool. And the final tactics, Torments of the Dark Dimension. Fight. Each other player makes a Demonic Bargain with Dormammu to gain a 0-cost hero from the KO pile. Not great, but better than the first two as far as effects, but it does stuff your deck with an extra junk card. Wow, so all 4 of his tactics do nothing to the person who actually hit him. So even more of a motivator to try to hit the Mastermind. Not just the VP, but also you're safe from these effects. But you got to be careful because it's each other player. So let's say this is a 4 or 5 player game. You'll be fine, but it's really going to hurt everybody else in a big way, which could help you lose the game. So teamwork is essential when fighting him. You can't be selfish, even though he's going to try his best to make you selfish. I absolutely love that flavor, kind of what Mephisto wasn't able to do, Dormammu's doing here. Okay, time for Dormammu's Always Leads villain group, the Lords of the Netherworld. Starting with a villain group I thought would make great henchmen, but they're cool here too. Mindless Ones. They have 4 attack and worth 2 VP. Ambush. Mindless Ones capture the rightmost hero in the HQ that costs 4 or less. Fight. Choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain with the Lords of the Netherworld to gain that hero. So I learned that the Demonic Bargain here is with the Lords of the Netherworld group because the Mindless Ones cannot be bargained with because they are mindless, so instead you bargain with the group. And remember that once you choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain, they have to accept it, so they're going to have to deal with whatever you throw to them, and hopefully you're a good team player. And here's a couple of cards we saw in previews. Baron Mordo with 5 attack and worth 3 VP. Fight. Choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain with Baron Mordo to draw 2 extra cards at the end of this turn. Doesn't seem like there's a downside to this, so this allows you to make an easy choice. Although you could choose yourself, you are one of the players, especially if you're playing solo, you really don't have a choice, but you do have to deal with the bargain. And here's Satana Hellstrom. She has 5 attack and 3 VP. Fight. Choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain with Satana Hellstrom to rescue 3 bystanders. Now, since bystanders give you VP and cool effects with the special bystanders, I imagine most folks are going to choose themselves, unless they really don't want to do the Demonic Bargain. So this will be interesting. If you have a player that uses bystanders as some kind of ramp engine, you might be nice and give it to them. Might help you win if Dormammu's being extra threatening. So far, all of our villains have had 2 copies each. The next 2 villains only have 1 copy each, starting with Satanish. Satanish has 6 attack and worth 4 VP. Ambush. Choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain with Satanish to reveal the top card of the hero deck and gain it if it costs 4 or less. Fight. Same effect but with cost 6 or less. Escape. Same effect but with cost 2 or less. So while he's giving you heroes, he may not be giving you the heroes that you want. So in the same turn, he could ambush and give a hero to a player that costs 4 or less, and then you could fight him and also gain one that costs 6 or less. So not the worst escape effect in the world, but I see how he's kind of stacking your deck with cards you may not want. But one could choose a separate player for the ambush, the fight, and the escape. This card doesn't seem so bad on the surface because he's giving you cards. You'll have to see how it works in play. Maybe getting the cards you don't want really slows down your deck. And the final villain of the Lords of the Netherworld is Umar, with 7 attack and worth 5 VP. Ambush. Choose a player to make a Demonic Bargain with Umar to KO a hero of their choice from the HQ. fight. Choose a player to make a demonic bargain with Umar to gain a hero of their choice that costs 6 or less from the KO pile. Escape. Same as fight effect, but cost 0. So just to sum it up, the ambush effect, someone's got to KO a hero from the HQ. Couldn't be the worst thing in the world. But fight, you get to gain a hero from the KO pile. That doesn't happen that often, 6 or less, of course. And the escape effect is like one we saw previously, where someone's going to gain a card that costs 0 from the KO pile. So this villain group seems to want to stack your deck against you without explicitly giving you wounds, but what they do, is, including Satanish I didn't mention, is they're making demonic bargains easier to fail for you, so you get more wounds, so it makes it harder for you to win. But it could have the side effect of giving you more cards that help you draw more cards and avoiding that. So this really depends on what kind of deck you're building. This could be helpful, it could be really harmful, gonna be interesting to find out. Yeah, we got both villain groups really focused on maximizing the power of their and their respective masterminds' keywords. Really shows you the power of what an Always Leads group can do for them. But that is enough about the villains. This game is also very much about the heroes, so let's take a look at our heroes for Doctor Strange in the Shadows of Nightmare, starting with the other titular character, not Nightmare, but Doctor Strange. So here's Doctor Strange. In this expansion, he is an Avengers-affiliated hero, and here is his first common, Wand of Watum. It is a ranged card with a cost of 3, and it has no printed attack or recruit. It is a ritual artifact. If you drew a card, you may discard Wand of Watum to get +3 attack. By the way, for the ritual artifact cards, remember that in the keyword it says if you did this effect this turn, you can do the effect. So when it says if you drew a card, it means if you drew a card this turn. Let's see what else he's got. Keeper of the Sanctum is an instant card with 2 attack and a cost of 4 and a second common. If you control an artifact, draw a card. Mystic Treasures, left unguarded, attract demonic interest. So speaking of Mystic Treasures, we've had one artifact, one card that works with an artifact and lets you draw a card. So again, if you control an artifact means if you've played it and it's out in the field in front of you. And there's a good amount of artifacts in this set, so this might trigger pretty often. Let's take a look at what his uncommon is. Okay, here's another artifact, the Book of Cagliostro. It is an instant card and a cost of only 2. Ritual artifact. If you fought a villain, you may discard Book of Cagliostro to get plus recruit equal to that enemy's VP. Interesting. A VP-based mechanic. It gives you recruit. It'll help you recruit, or this is going to be very useful in fighting things in the astral plane. I see why it costs 2. It doesn't have any printed attack or recruit, and it only gives you recruit if you defeat a villain and then only equal to that enemy's VP. But it seems like this works pretty well with things like Keeper of the Sanctum, of course, where you get to draw a card if you control an artifact. You can discard Wand of Watum to get attack when you need it. Let's see how his rare ties into all of this. And there it is, the obligatory Eye of Agamotto, a ranged card with a cost of 8, and it is a ritual artifact. If you played another artifact or 3 other cards of the same hero class, you may discard the Eye of Agamotto to get +7 attack. So wow, across all of Doctor Strange's cards, he only has 2 printed attack, no printed recruit across everything, but that's not how his cards work. You have to use the ritual artifacts to get the value, which makes sense. He's using artifacts in all of these cards. Even with Keeper of the Sanctum, he's controlling the artifacts there. Really interesting strategy. On the surface, it seems like this makes him a weaker hero, but I'm sure that is extremely deceiving, and once you get his engine going, it's going to be pretty powerful. I can't wait to find out. By the way, I'll note that this says if you played another artifact, and with ritual artifacts, since you discard them often and you play them again, that's going to happen quite often, and that also works with things like throne artifacts, which you do get to play again. And this doesn't work very well with the artifacts from Guardians of the Galaxy, because those don't really get discarded that often. So I might have to play an all-artifact game with all 4 different expansions just to really see how that feels. Let's take a look at our second hero, Dr. Voodoo. So Dr. Voodoo is an Avengers-affiliated hero. I believe at some point in the comics, he took over for Doctor Strange as the Sorcerer Supreme and helped the Avengers out. This is the first covert card we're seeing. We had Doctor Strange, who only had range and instinct, and this covert card is Commune with the Spirit World with 2 recruit and a cost of 3. You may discard an artifact you control or 3 cards from your hand. If you do, KO a card from your hand or discard pile. So Doctor Strange's rare had the 3-card mechanic, and so does Dr. Voodoo's common here, except Doctor Strange's had to be all of the same class. This is just any 3 cards. But this seems like a great early pickup. 2 recruit and KO power, even if you have to discard 3 cards. If it's early enough in the game, you might have some extra troopers or something and some villains you can't quite fight, so you can discard them to KO an agent and to really set up your deck. Very cool. Although you got to be careful with this set, because demonic bargains will be tougher the more 0-cost cards you KO. But a second, however, this also lets you KO cards, not just heroes, so this can also get rid of wounds for you. Here's his second common, Medallion of Many Loas. This is the first tech card in this set, a cost of 4. With no printed attack or recruit. Ritual Artifact. If you have at least 3 hero classes, you may discard Medallion of Many Loas to get +1 attack for each hero class you have, including this one. Even microchips are infused with the Loas of Lightning. And by the way, artifacts you control do count as hero classes that you have, and already we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, but only 3 of them are artifacts. I can see this triggering with 3 most often, so this is functionally basically a 3 attack card once you discard it, but you could get more. And this is a common, so there's 5 of these, so for each one, you get that effect and you can do them all during this turn. And since the rules do say you can use as many ritual artifacts you want in a turn, let's say you have 3 different classes and you discard 4 of these, that's 12 attack, that could take out a bunch of different masterminds. Dr. Voodoo's uncommon is Staff of Legba. It is the first strength card in this set, and it costs 5. Ritual Artifact. If you recruited a hero, you may discard Staff of Legba to get plus attack equal to that hero's cost. Note that it says if you recruited a hero, not gained a hero, so you're going to have to pay for the card anyway, and you're basically turning the recruit into attack by recruiting that hero. So it's kind of like a focus in that way, but based on what you recruit. Again, this is useful towards the astral plane because you could use the recruit for fighting something in the astral plane, or you could take that recruit and recruit something and turn it into attack for this turn and fight something in the city or the mastermind. I'm not exactly sure how this one's going to work in practice, but I can't wait to find out. And finally, we have Possessed by Brother's Spirit. If anybody has read the backstory of Dr. Voodoo, it's really cool that his brother is part of this card. It's such an important part of his character's backstory. It is an instinct rare with a cost of 7 and 0+ recruit and 4+ attack. The first time that one of your heroes or a hero from your deck or discard pile is KO'd this turn, you get +4 recruit or +4 attack. So very versatile, giving you either 8 attack or 4 recruit and 4 attack. And as far as his KO power, his common has KO power, so that's going to work really well with this rare. My mind is spinning with a whole bunch of different synergies with some different heroes that do certain KOs. Imagine playing this card with Phoenix, but that's besides the point. Again, great for fighting things in the astral plane. Anything that gives you kind of a versatile effect is great for that. And there's other things in the villain decks that will KO some of your cards, so that will trigger this too. A very crafty hero set that I don't think I'm going to fully understand until I actually play a game with Dr. Voodoo, so I'll have to give my thoughts at another time, but my first impressions are that I am very intrigued. Now we move on to Hero 3, Clea, our first Marvel Knights hero in quite a while. This is her first common, Prepare Dark Magic. It is a range card with 2 attack and a cost of 3. Draw a card, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck. When bargaining with demons, it helps to keep a trick up your sleeve. Very cool. So she's going to help make sure that that demonic bargain is not going to hurt you by putting a 0-cost card on top of your deck if you can. I am seeing some parallels to Gambit in a great way. Let's see what the rest of her hero set has to offer. Demonic Descendant is her second card. It is a covert card with 2+ recruit and a cost of 4. You may make a demonic bargain to get +2 recruit. The daughter of Umar, niece of Dormammu, and one-time wife of Doctor Strange, Clea is used to awkward family reunions. So interesting, when the teaser was given for this card, it mentioned Dormammu and Umar, which are both in this expansion, but we didn't know at the time. And by the way, this card can pretty much always give you 4 recruit. You can always make the demonic bargain. You got to be careful later in the game where it might fail. You do need recruit to fight things in the astral plane, but if you're not necessarily dealing with the astral plane, having this early is great. You'll probably always succeed on the demonic bargain, not have to get a wound, and you'll get 4 recruit from a common. Even though it does cost 4, it can chain into getting other copies of itself. On the surface, this seems like a great starter card to get. Clea's uncommon is Bind the Dark Dimension, a ranged card with 3 attack and a cost of 6, and we've got a ranged superpower trigger. You may choose a player to make a demonic bargain to KO up to 1 hero of their choice from their hand or discard pile. More KO power, nice. All the KO power I'm seeing here makes me nervous for this set, because most of the time KO power is wonderful, it's a great thing. But the more cards you KO, the more 0-cost cards you KO, I should say, the tougher it makes for you to not get a wound with a demonic bargain. So I can foresee a lot of KOing of non-0-cost cards in this expansion. Now, I don't know what the schemes are yet, but I hope none of them actually count non-gray heroes in the KO pile, because that's the thing that's going to make these kind of KO mechanics tricky if you're trying to get rid of your cards that cost maybe a little bit more than 0, but not that much more. And finally, here's Clea's rare, the Purple Gem, a covert card with a cost of 7, and it is a ritual artifact. If any cards were revealed, looked at, or discarded from any deck, you may discard the Purple Gem to get +6 attack. just drawing or playing a card from a deck doesn't count. So discard is going to be the big one, because within the Demonic Bargain keyword, it has you discard a card. So it says if any cards were revealed, looked at, or discarded from any deck. So you could make somebody else do a Demonic Bargain, and then you could trigger the purple gem if you want. And both her second common and uncommon can do some Demonic Bargains if you don't have any villains that would do the same. And again, 6 attack doesn't seem like a lot, but with the fact that it's an artifact, you can have it out and use it at just the right time. That gives it a little more oomph. So just like Dr. Voodoo, I'm going to have to see how her hero set plays. So this hero set is interesting. Look at the amount of symbols I've seen. Clea has had the most. She doesn't have any on her rare, but she's got attack, recruit, attack, and then Dr. Voodoo has 1 recruit, and then 1 recruit and attack, and Doctor Strange only has the 1. So this might be the expansion with the fewest amount of attack and recruit symbols on heroes. A very different way to play this out, but that makes sense. These heroes don't use brute force to fight, you can tell, because only 1 card is strength here. They use the mystic arts, they use artifacts, they use tricks, they use pulling from other dimensions, so it makes sense they would find alternate ways to take down the villains. Very cool. What are the last 2 hero sets? I can't wait to see. Okay, our penultimate hero is the Ancient One. Looks like the Ancient One is yet another unaffiliated hero with Astral Confrontation as the Ancient One's first common. It is a covert card with 2 recruit and a cost of 3. You may have a villain from the city enter the astral plane. Physical power means nothing when a spirit transcends its body. So I had theorized when we saw the preview that the Ancient One was going to put villains into the astral plane and then would have other effects that specifically target the astral plane to take them out. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but at least it gives you 2 recruit to fight things there. Also, taking something out of the city could be very useful. With this expansion, with things like the Fear Lords, that could be trouble, because they can put more and more things into the astral plane, causing that card to escape. But imagine using the Ancient One in a set that does not include Nightmare or the Fear Lords or any other astral plane stuff. You could put a villain from the city there and just kind of leave it there. It's never going to escape unless you put something else in there, giving you a lot of time to fight it. Imagine if you did something like putting Weaponized Galactus in the astral plane. Normally not a good idea with these villains, but if there's no other way for things to enter the astral plane, he can just sit there and not gain momentum and not be a threat. So this is actually very secretly powerful in that way. Alright, the Ancient One's second common is Teachings of Camartage. It is an instant card with a cost of 5, and nothing except for draw 2 cards. Discipline opens the path to mastery. Impatience opens the path to catastrophe. This card is, by the way, identical to Mr. Fantastic's Unstable Molecules card, except the only thing that's different functionally is that this is an instant card instead of Mr. Fantastic's tech card. And my memories from playing that set is that's very fun, just to draw 2 cards. No attack, no recruit, but this does expand your hand and give you more stuff to work with. And even though it's expensive, drawing 2 cards is a big deal just from 1 card. So I'm inclined to take this almost every time I see it. Doesn't really hurt. Also, it makes sense that the Ancient One so far is the card with the least amount of attack power, so it doesn't use physical offense, but uses mostly the Mystic Realm. Very thematic. Now here's War of the Mind, the Ancient One's uncommon. There's actually something on this card that is probably going to need an errata. I did not notice what it was. Somebody had to tell me, but see if you can figure out what it is. I'll give you a few seconds. Can you see it before I tell you? Pause it if you want more time to figure it out. It's harder to see when you're not looking on it on a screen. Anyway, if you look in the corner, the Ancient One here has an attack symbol with no number on it. That attack symbol is not supposed to be there. So for purposes of cards that count cards with attack symbols on it, this one will not count. I'm sure that'll be explained later in an errata. But anyway, that's the fun fact. I did not catch that. It's just too camouflage in the background for me. I'm not good with colors. Anyway, let's move on. This is a covert card with 3+ recruit and a cost of 6. You may fight the Mastermind using only recruit instead of attack this turn, and then covert, you get +3 recruit. Now this is echoing other cards, funnily enough, like Michelle from Peter's Allies that does partially the same thing. So this card can give you 6 recruit if you get the covert trigger, and that's essentially 6 attack towards the Mastermind. We're going to have to use only recruit to fight the Mastermind here. So far, the Ancient One has my favorite card flavor because he's just using all recruit, no attack whatsoever to fight. So how does that lend itself to his rare? Okay, here's his rare, the Orb of Agamotto, not the Eye of Agamotto. It is an instant card and a cost of 8. Ritual artifact, and there's a lot here. If you fought a villain or mastermind, you may set aside the Orb of Agamotto to reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. KO up to 1 of them, put 2 of them in your hand, and put the rest back on top in any order. Then discard the Orb of Agamotto. Wow, so again, another one of those cards that doesn't seem like a lot, but if I look carefully, you get to KO a card, You get to put 2 cards in your hand, put the rest back, discard this card. Those 2 cards you draw from the 4, you get to pick, right? So those could be 2 cards that'll help you continue your turn. So this seems like a great rare to unleash at just the right time. And it says specifically if you fought a villain or mastermind. So this seems to kind of want to help you fight something else at the same time. You could fight a villain or mastermind and then help you gain 2 cards that are very essential, KO 1 you don't really need, and then maybe keep the chain going by drawing some more cards. Let's say you get some more teachings of Camartage after that. If you get 2 of those from the Orb of Agamotto's being discarded, you get to draw 4 cards. You may go all the way back around to drawing the Orb of Agamotto again. You could fight a villain again. You could discard this again, do it all over again. I can see some really interesting chains here. And again, no attack in the entire set for the Ancient One. Very cool. Here we go. The final hero in this set is the Vishanti. So this seems to be a group hero, again, like the Warriors 3 or Fantastic Four United. These are the mystic forces that our mystic arts users call upon to do their spells. Let's see how this works out. So this is Oshtur, the first common of the Vishanti. It is a strength card with 2 recruit and a cost of 3. You may KO a wound from your hand or discard pile. If you do, draw a card. Even a stray thought from Oshtur heals and ennobles. Some wound KOing, interesting, very useful for these demonic bargains. Now, other card sets actually give you wounds and then let you KO them, like Hulk and Colossus, so we'll see if this set does the same thing. Here's our wound gaining. So here's Hoggoth, the second of the Vishanti, second common, an instant card, 2+ attack, and then a cost of 5. You may make a demonic bargain to get +2 attack. Though he's known for his hoary hosts of Hoggoth, he can also get a lot done on his own. By the way, I'm realizing we haven't heard Doctor Strange call out the names of the Vishanti during the spells, and on one hand, I'm disappointed. On the other hand, it would probably be really silly, and I'm glad he doesn't do that. Anyway, yeah, so you can make a demonic bargain. You can purposefully make a demonic bargain to get a wound, if you can, and then you can use Oshtur to actually KO that wound. So there is your wound engine. Very interesting. I love the art. I know these gods take different forms, so it's cool to see the forms that are chosen here. I wonder where those are pulled from exactly. And there's Agamotto looking for his eye and his orb. This is a ranged card with 2 attack and a cost of 4. Reveal the top card of your deck, discard it or put it back. Ranged, you may choose a player to make a demonic bargain to draw 2 extra cards at the end of this turn. Interesting, so you can do this on your turn, choose a player to make the demonic bargain. At the end of your turn, which is this turn, they draw 2 extra cards, which means they draw 2 cards if they're not already drawing cards at the end of your turn, which they normally wouldn't be. So Agamotto seems to work with the other 2. Agamotto can help set up a demonic bargain that Hoggoth can do, that Oshtur can do a KO from. So do you want to not get a wound from the demonic bargain, or do you want to get a wound from the demonic bargain? This won't guarantee it, but it will at least help you figure out what you have on the top, so you can lock that choice in if you wanted to. By the way, this doesn't seem like the full power of these gods, but I don't know how you could do an even hero set with them, so I'm feeling like the interpretation is when you play Oshtur, Hoggoth, and Agamotto here, you're just calling on their services, kind of like these Mystic Arts users do, and they're helping you out a little bit, and that works really well for me. And their rare leans kind of into that idea with the Book of the Vishanti. It is a covert card and a cost of 7, and a ritual artifact with all 3 of them present here. Ritual artifact. If any player gained a wound, you may set aside the Book of Vishanti to KO up to 1 wound from any player's discard pile, then draw 3 cards. Then discard the Book of Vishanti. You can use this during any player's turn. So it seems like the engine is here to KO a bunch of wounds, draw as many cards as you can, and get the Book of the Vishanti to show up pretty often, because then you could help the other players deal with the demonic bargains that they're dealing with and avoid those wounds. I don't think there's been an expansion in recent history with this much focus on wounds, so it'll be interesting to play this set out on its own, really get those wounds moving, mix them in with grievous wounds from Civil War, and also maybe, if you're really sadistic, try them with some schemes that count how many wounds are left in the wound stack and maybe cut down on the amount of wounds that are in there, like the Legacy Virus. Oh boy, imagine playing this with the Legacy Virus with the lack of tech cards and the wound situation. I don't know if I want to do that, but I love how all this comes together. And again, look at all the symbols on here. Let me go ahead and put the rare down. I haven't checked, but this has got to be the expansion with the fewest amount of attack and recruit symbols on heroes. And again, like I mentioned before, because they do different things to build up power instead of just straight up attack and recruit on the cards, which again is great for the flavor, and I cannot wait to try this out. But we have one more thing to look at, and those are the 4 schemes that come with Doctor Strange in the Shadows of Nightmare. The first scheme is War for the Dream Dimension. Set up 7 twists at an extra villain group. Twist, reveal the top 2 cards of the villain deck. The villain you revealed with the highest printed attack enters the astral plane. It does not do any ambush abilities. If you reveal the second villain this way, that villain enters the city. Put the rest of the revealed cards back in any order. Evil wins when there are 3 villains per player in the escape pile or when the villain deck runs out. Like I mentioned in the preview, this seems interesting. It gives you an extra chance to take down some villains, but also can cause much more escapes. And because the evil wins condition counts the number of villains in the escape pile, this can be deadly. Because again, when something enters the astral plane, if there was something already there, it just immediately escapes. And on top of that, with the villain groups that you pick, that could be extra deadly with the escape effects that go in there. And as you're adding an extra villain group, and there's only 2 villain groups in this set, the third one could have some pretty nasty escape effects, but at the same time, it could also have some pretty nasty ambush abilities that don't trigger when they enter the astral plane directly. If you love the astral plane, I think this is going to be a really fun scheme. Can't wait to try this one out. And much like the last scheme featured Astral Plane, this is one features Demonic Bargain. Claim souls for demons. Set up 8 twists, twist 1 to 3. Each player makes a demonic bargain to rescue a bystander. If that bargain wounds that player, stack that bystander next to the scheme as a tormented soul instead. Twist 4 to 8. Each player makes a demonic bargain to gain a shield officer. If that bargain wounds that player, stack that officer next to the scheme as a tormented soul instead. Evil wins when the number of tormented souls is 4 times the number of players. So for a 2-player game, that would be 8 tormented souls. So if you were to fail twist 1 to 3, that's already 6, and you got to be real careful about the rest of the twists. Now hopefully the twists come early with this scheme so that the demonic bargains do not give you wounds as your deck is full of 0-cost cards, but as the game's going on, if you're getting nervous, you haven't pulled a lot of twists, you got to be real careful about what you're recruiting, and if you have any heroes that let you reveal the top card of your deck, like Clea and the Vishanti, those would be useful. Okay, now here's one of the 2 schemes we have not seen yet, Cursed Pages of the Darkhold Tome. Set up 11 twists representing cursed pages. Is it cursed or cursed? I'm going to say cursed. Cursed pages of the Darkhold Tome at an extra villain group. Special rules. Cursed pages are ritual artifacts with, if you fought a villain or mastermind, you may discard this to get +3 recruit. Twist. Put this cursed page next to the mastermind, plus a cursed page from any player's control or discard pile or the KO pile. For this turn only, the first time you fight a villain or mastermind, put one of the mastermind's cursed pages into your discard pile. Evil wins when the mastermind has 7 cursed pages at the end of any player's turn or when the villain deck runs out. I think this is my favorite scheme so far. Love the idea of using the scheme twist as cursed pages from a book. That's really cool. And they come out as artifacts, but if the mastermind has them, that's not very good for you. You can lose. Having kind of a war between you and the mastermind to get the most cursed pages, to get them away from them. That's really neat. Also, cursed pages are scheme twists, and scheme twists have no printed VP, so effectively their VP is 0 when you have to check. So for demonic bargains, if you reveal a cursed page, that will not give you a wound, so that's a plus there. And unlike other schemes that have scheme twists cycle through your deck, these ones you can just leave out in play. Now having those out won't save one from being captured, but at least it's only 1 per twist plus the one that came up in the villain deck as a twist. I think that I'm going to have to play this one first. I'm really intrigued by the cursed pages of the Darkhold Tome. And finally, we've got Duels of Science and Magic. Set up 2 players, 9 twists, 1 or 4 players, 10 twists, 3 or 5 players, 11 twists. Twist 1, 3, and 5, Duel of Science. Each player reveals a tech or ranged hero, or discards down to 4 cards. If at least half the players round up failed to reveal, put this twist next to the mastermind as a Duel 1. Twist 2, 4, and 6, Duel of Magic. Same effect, but with Instinct or Covert. Twist 7 to 11, Duel of Science and Magic. Same effect, but each player must reveal at least 3 of these colors, Instinct, Covert, Tech, and Ranged. Evil wins when the mastermind has won 5 duels. So like Contest of Champions, you do sort of do some duel with the mastermind, but unlike Contest of Champions, it's a lot more simple. You gotta reveal one of the classes or discard down to 4 cards for each one. The last twist though make you reveal 3, and then if at least half the players failed to reveal, at least half the players round up. So in a 2-player game, each player is gonna have to succeed, otherwise the mastermind wins a duel, and 5 is not that many. But I love the theming with this, and with this set on its own, there's only 1 tech hero, Dr. Voodoo's Common 2. It was a bit more ranged, but if you're playing with this setup, the Instinct and Covert are definitely going to have the advantage here with revealing. This will be a fun one to try by mixing in other heroes from other sets, but this theme is fantastic. And there we go. Every single card in Doctor Strange in the Shadows of Nightmare. A really clever way to introduce some of the heroes that don't really hit as hard into Legendary by finding some alternative ways for them to take down the villains, and some pretty sneaky villains in this set, and I wouldn't have it any other way. If you'd like to get your hands on this expansion, go ahead and check out the link to Upper Deck's store in the description, as well as a bunch of other expansions for Legendary. You can also check out your friendly local game store and see if they've got any Legendary in stock. Thank you for watching this unboxing and overview. I'll be bringing you unboxings and overviews for every expansion that comes out in the future, including the upcoming expansions, Marvel Studios, Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, and Black Widow. Also consider hitting the subscribe button and following me on Twitch if you'd like to join me for one of my many Marvel Legendary live streams. I've got to get this entire collection sleeved so I can give it a shot. I hope you enjoyed as well, and I will see you for the next one. Take care, everybody.